Okay, so in case you guys haven't noticed, I have been doing these voiceovers by reading my comments and seeing what people are requesting the most. And so I noticed in one of my videos, one of the comments said, please do a video about how to stop caring what people think. And that seemed to get a lot of likes. So that's what I'm going to do today. So, how to stop caring what people think about you. As humans, we are social creatures. We thrive on social interaction. We need social interaction. And therefore, we are primed to care what other people think. I mean, our survival is based off of what our parents think of us, because if our parents don't love us and reject us at birth, then they will not feed us, raise us, and our lives are at stake. So we are born into a situation where we kind of have to depend on what someone thinks of us. So that's within us. So I'm not saying that you ultimately can erase that from you and you can just act like, okay, I don't care what anybody thinks, because like I said, it's programmed within you to care, but it's a way to lessen it. So this video is more so about how to lessen the feeling of caring what people think to the point where you're letting it consume you or control you. So I feel like I am the perfect candidate to discuss this topic because I am an Aquarius. And as you all may know or may not know, Aquarians are very skilled at, being individuals, being unique. And we kind of have to step out of the box and not care what people think because we are the humanitarians of the zodiac sign. And when you are a humanitarian, you will face a lot of opposition and you will have to stand very strong in your beliefs. So you kind of have to develop this almost body armor to not care what people are going to think about your strong opinions. So basically what I do when I start to fall into the mindset of, I have to do something where people are going to think a certain way and I start to second guess myself, what I'll do is remind myself that everyone, and there's no exception to this, has a shadow side. Everyone has toxic, quote unquote, traits, and that doesn't excuse anyone. Like that is consistent across the board for every human being. No human being is an angel, or they wouldn't be humans. So every human being has done something that they are ashamed of. Every human being has traits that other people might find unappealing, or other people might find problematic. So no one is perfect. So if you know that you are doing the best that you can with the tools that you have, why would you then care what people think? Something else that I like to adopt is the mind frame that this life is very temporary, meaning that we're all going to die someday, as morbid as that sounds. It's an idea that you might want to dive into and get used to, because it will help you to stop caring so much about what people think about you. If all of this is temporary and one day you are not going to be here, what's the point of living a life where you're constantly policing yourself based off of what other people are going to think about you or how other people are going to perceive you? And also, if you think about it, a lot of people who pass away, they are forgotten. Their bad traits are forgotten. Their good traits are forgotten. They are eventually forgotten with time and with history, unless you're some type of like iconic historical figure where you are remembered in history books. But even then, it's distorted, and a lot of those traits and attributes of those people are forgotten. So like I said, all the things that you've done wrong or the things that you think are embarrassing about yourself and things like that, that's all going to be forgotten someday. So, I mean, that's not to say that you should just let your shadow side run amok and you should just do terrible things because, oh, when you die, it's not going to matter. No, you should still strive to be a good person and still strive to do the best that you can and show up as the best version of yourself. But to constantly think, okay, I have to be perfect, or I have to act a certain way to be accepted, it makes no sense. Only because, like I said, one day you're not going to be here. And that's the mindset that I take on. Like, you just try your best to be a good person. If you know that your intentions are pure and you know that you're being yourself and you feel like you are in alignment with yourself, then what anybody has to say about you really, really does not matter. It really doesn't. And also, a good way to think about it is this: when you put your worst traits on display, and not saying that you do it purposely, like you're just showing everyone your horrible side or a bad side of you on purpose, but it's like when you just put yourself on display, the things that people find unfavorable about you, those people are going to leave your life. They're going to slander you probably, but the point is that they're going to be away from you, okay? And the people who accept you when they see those parts of you are the people who are your soul tribe. They're the people who are, that you're wanting to be around anyway. So, for example, with my YouTube channel, I'm sure there are people who are just like, who is this woman? Like, her opinions are so aggressive. Well, maybe they don't see it like that. I don't know. But in my everyday life, I know there are people who see it like that. I don't feel like I'm that aggressive on my YouTube channel. But I'm trying to think of an example. Maybe on social media or Twitter, I'm more aggressive on there. So maybe on like social media, Twitter, Facebook, things like that, they're probably like, who is this woman? You know, she's a loudmouth. She is a know-it-all. And like, who is this woman? Who does she think she is? Like, you know, who does she think she is? And those are the people that is not my tribe, because my tribe are the people who see my tweets and they're just like, wow, I love how passionate you are. I love how firm that you stand, or I love how strong that you are. You see what I'm saying? So it kind of weeds out the people who you're supposed to be connecting with from the people who you're not. Because if I play it safe and I don't give any of my opinions on anything, then I will just be liked by everyone and accepted by everyone, and then I'll constantly have to police myself. I know there was one person who said, you know, I love your YouTube channel because, you know, you're so kind and you're never rude. And I was just like, oh, you're in for a rude awakening, because I am rude. Sometimes when someone pushes the wrong button, I do get rude because I am a human being. So that's what I'm saying when I say trying to please everyone, or like putting yourself in this box, it'll keep you stifled. Because what if I saw that comment like, oh, okay, there's this person that thinks that I'm never rude. I have to make sure that I'm never rude. Then I have to, you know, make sure that and you should strive for that anyway. You should strive to be the best version of yourself. You should strive to not be rude or disrespectful. But at the end of the day, you're human. So there's going to be people who push a button, or there's going to be time where you have to stand your ground, but you're going to come across as rude. So that's what I mean when I say it's best to weed out who's here for you and who is not supposed to be interacting with you, based off of just being fully yourself, and letting the people who don't like your negative traits, letting them fall by the wayside, and embracing the people who enjoy your positive traits. Okay, so another tip I got from Teal Swan is to figure out the things that you might find unfavorable about yourself and figure out what's the positive side of those things. I actually use this a lot whenever I have a trait that I'm just like, oh my god, like what are people going to think about me? I can only imagine what someone would think if they saw me doing this, or if they saw this, you know, this part of me. And then I think to myself, okay, but so what? Because there's always a positive spin to that. So for example, since I was younger, one trait that I have always possessed is always being in people's business, meaning that when I see someone being harmed or something being done wrong to them, I always have to say something. And I was always criticized for this by the adults in my family. You can imagine, like as a child, if they were doing something, like if the adults in my family were doing something that I thought was wrong, I would actually tell them like, that's not right to do. Even though it had nothing to do with me. Like they could be doing something wrong to my cousin or something, and I'll be like, well, you know, you shouldn't, that's not right for you to do. And I would always get in trouble for it, and I would always get chastised for it. Like, you need to stay out of everybody's business. Stop thinking you're somebody's lawyer. What's your problem? Like, you need to relax and stay in a child's place. Things of that nature. So that's something that I've always been taught was a bad thing. But now, as you can see, I am making a living doing that. So clearly that's a trait that I was chastised for and punished for. But as I got older, I start to see that that's rare to have people that are willing to really stand up for other people and to really voice their concerns on other people's behalves. I started to see that that's something rare, and that's something that's very special that I have within me. And I stopped seeing it as such a bad thing. And so now when I try not to do it as much. I try to do it in more of a positive way. But now, like on social media, if I see something wrong and I like jump in it, or I say something to someone, I'm not like, oh my God, what are people going to think of me? They're going to think that I'm nosy and I'm in everyone's business and I have a save the world complex. I don't think of it like that anymore. I think of it as, now that I said something and I spoke up, the people who did not want to speak up, or the people who didn't have a voice, or who don't want to voice their opinions because of fear of public scrutiny, at least they can see my tweets and say, okay, I agree with what she's saying, and I'm glad that there's somebody out there that agrees with my thought process as well. Because some people don't want to speak up on their own behalf. Some people don't really use their voice in a way that they want to. So when they see someone using that voice, it inspires them. So that's what I mean when I say you take a shameful situation, or a shameful trait that you find shameful, or that you could be scrutinized for, and you turn it into something positive. So that's a way to stop caring what other people think. So those are more on like larger scales, meaning like across a large range of people. So I guess I should break it down into something smaller, meaning that when you are in a one-on-one relationship, caring a lot about what that person thinks, because you most likely, if you're on this channel, you most likely have been kind of trained from a young age to care a little bit too much about what people think, meaning that you could have been in a dysfunctional household or with abusive parents who they pretty much have kind of primed you or groomed you to care only about their needs and not care about your own and neglect your own. So one of the major ways to stop caring what people think about you when it comes to one-on-one relationships is to care about what you think. To step back from that energy of constantly thinking, okay, what is that person thinking about me? What is that person, like, what are they thinking about our relationship? What are they thinking about our future? Especially if you already have asked them and they've already expressed like nothing's wrong and it's still like in your mind anyway and you're still constantly on edge about it. It's good to kind of step back into yourself and kind of turn that attention onto yourself and start to think, okay, stop thinking about what they think about you and think about what you think about you, because sometimes you are projecting your own faults onto them. So for example, I was in a relationship with someone and I remember we were arguing and I was just like, well, sorry, I'm such a burden in your life, like, real dramatic. I get real dramatic when I argue. And I'm just like, well, excuse me for being such a burden in your life. And he was just like, who said that you were a burden? Did I say you were a burden? And I was just like, well, no, you didn't say it. But he's like, do I treat you like you're a burden? And I was just like, well, no, I mean, not exactly. And he's like, okay, well, that's you thinking that then. You're thinking that you're a burden. And I had to stop and think about it. Like, yeah, that's true. I'm actually, in my mind, I'm thinking that I'm a burden in people's lives. So I was projecting that onto him. So the whole time I was saying that I care so much about what he thinks. I care about the fact that he thinks I'm a burden. And really, he didn't even think that I was a burden. It was me projecting that onto him. So sometimes a way for you to stop caring what people think in your personal relationships is to stop and think about whether or not you're actually projecting and if they really don't think that way of you. Now, if you are in a relationship, whether it be a friendship or family dynamic where people genuinely do think badly about you and it's not just something you're projecting, you may want to reevaluate those type of people, because you're already going to be scrutinized by the general public. You're going to be scrutinized by all these human beings in the world, especially being on social media. You're already going to be scrutinized by strangers. So if you are in personal one-on-one relationships where they do think badly about you and they treat you as if they think badly about you, I feel like it's really not your place to try to ignore that or to try to act like, okay, well, I don't care what they think. At the same time, trying to maintain a relationship with them. Because if you're trying to maintain a relationship with them, then you do care what they think. So the first step in not caring what they think would be for you to remove yourself from their lives. Because anybody who truly cares about you and anybody who truly values you, they're going to try to look at your positive traits more than the negative ones. And they're going to try to work on the negative ones with you, or they're going to try to work around the negative ones. Not saying that they're going to accept those things about you necessarily, that they're going to allow you to, be destructive, but they're going to see the positive in you more than anything. And those people are going to be the ones who make you want to feed the positive and make you want to work on healing the negative. So if there are people in your life, like one-on-one, where you feel like you have to people please and jump through hoops to get them to like you, the first step towards doing that, like I said, is first figuring out if you're projecting or not. And then if you're not projecting, removing yourself from those people's lives, because what are they doing judging you? I'm sure there's things about them as well that are not right. So why do they have a personal relationship with you if they're just judging all your negative traits and making you feel like shit? You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I think that that's it. Just remember that not caring about what people think is like, it's a muscle that you constantly have to build. And as you build your confidence and build your self-esteem and get to know yourself and get to love yourself, you'll just start to naturally tune out what other people think about you, because you'll just have this personal relationship with yourself that cannot be shaken up. You know what I'm saying? That's like when you have a very close relationship or a bond with someone and you love them dearly. Nothing bad that other people say about them is going to make you stop loving them, or it's going to make you turn on them, because you know who they are. You know that they have a good heart. You know that their intentions are pure, and you will not turn on them because your loyalty lies with them. And you should have that same relationship with yourself. So building that relationship with yourself will be the foundation of not caring what people think, because you are going to be attacked in life. There are going to be people who don't like you. There are going to be people who, don't agree with what you say or how you live. And as long as you are not turning on yourself, then that's fine. But when you turn on yourself, or when you don't have a close relationship with yourself, other people outside of you will be able to allow you to turn on you. So build up that muscle and build up that confidence and build up that personal trust and relationship within yourself. And if you look at social media, and if you look at the people around you in your everyday lives, most people don't really train that muscle, because a lot of people hide behind groupthink. A lot of people hide within the crowd, and they don't really have to develop a personal relationship with themselves because they can hide behind what other people think. As long as they have the majority on their side and they have the majority backing them up, then they feel like they never really have to be an individual, or they never really have to, build that confidence muscle or that self-esteem muscle. They never really have to work it or build it. And when you don't work a muscle, it does not build and it just becomes weak. So yeah, I mean, you can choose to do that, or you can choose to strengthen the muscle. And a good way that I do this, especially with me being on social media, me having a platform, is that when people try to attack me and say things about me, I just kind of remind myself, like, listen, these people do not know you. They don't know you from a can of paint. You know that you're amazing. You know that your intentions are pure. You know that you're a good person. Like, I just tell myself that over and over again, and then eventually you believe it, because repetition is key. Anything that you repeat over and over is going to stick to you. So just make sure, like I said, you're never turning on yourself, especially in times where you're feeling most ashamed or you're feeling most attacked. That's when you really start to build up this muscle of really getting to know yourself and getting to love yourself through anything. And through that, you just naturally stop caring so much what people think of you. So that is it. I hope that was helpful. I feel like it was really long and rambly, but I hope you got something out of it. So thank you for requesting this video. To the person who left the comment, thank you guys so much for your support, and I will see you guys in the next one. Feel free to leave any other video suggestions down below.